All right. Here we are, and here we grow. It's time to begin. We like to start and end on time. I'll do my best to end on time. And I'm so excited to be here with you. This is an introduction to our Momentors Trust Builder program for real estate sales performance. And I'll make a promise to you right now that this hour will be valuable. And that's up to you because the value that you will receive is directly proportional to what we call increasing your life span. Simple, positive action now. Simple, positive action now. Now, I'm going to be sharing a lot of things in this next hour because I'm giving you a bit of a preview into two different tracks here. One is our 101 foundational course, and one is our 201 kind of next level course. So if it seems like the information is overwhelming, it's probably because it's true. And so I'll give you one bit of advice, and that is to just look for one or two maybe nuggets that you can implement into your business as we go through this preview. So it's about simple, positive action now. It's not about it being easy, but it is about trying to keep things simple. So our mission here at Momentors, through group coaching, through one-on-one coaching, through sales training, is to help people understand a level of success that they're trying to achieve and how they define it, and then get you to that level through maximizing opportunities, overcoming challenges, kind of getting out of our own way along the way. So the goal is to take people that have good character, good principles, and help them elevate that, maximize their performance so that they can magnify their influence and live build a stronger business and live a better life. So the way we do this is I'm going to deliver a framework. This is uh, a lot of putting together pieces of a puzzle, right? So what we try to do is give you a framework so that you can put together the pieces of the puzzle in a way that is authentic to you, in a way that is customizable to how your clients and your customers, your prospects like to receive information. In other words, authentic to you and customizable to them. And so we have a 101 and we have a 201. Now, I promise that I don't care where you are in your business, how long you've been in the business, you would learn something from the 101 or the 201. So what I would encourage you to think it through, 101, generally speaking, is more foundational for the newer agent or for an agent that's been in business for a while but hasn't really gotten much training, looking to now put some systems in place, get a little bit more organized. The 201 level is more towards experienced agents, been in the business for a few years, maybe up to 10 years, a handful of transactions, maybe just getting into the six figures or trying to get to that level and wanting to take it up a notch. So you'll get something out of either one of them, but those are kind of what they're geared for. And I would make one recommendation, is that's not to do both of them at the same time, right? If you're going to sign up for 101, do that one first. And then when we do another 201 program in the future, sign up for that one. So doing both of them at the same time. I'm a big proponent of not overwhelming yourself with coaching and training. One at a time is a good idea. With our program, we'll meet you where you are in your sales career. We'll take this framework, and then you're going to really, you have two objectives here. And the whole thing is called Momentors Trust Builder for a reason. It's about growing trust, building trusted relationships, increasing the number of trusted relationships that you have, and then delivering what I call plus one service in order that you can turn those relationships, your sphere of influence, your client base, into an income gusher because you're doing such amazing work for them. So the reason also we get into trust, we dive into it a little bit more in detail than most programs, is because trust is often misunderstood. So each one of the modules that we're going to have in 101 and 201 are designed to really build upon and grow that level of trust and integrity. But like any other training program, really, this isn't breaking new ground here. You're the difference maker. You are the key to your success. Like I said, you take action and it's awesome. You don't take action, there may be some seeds planted for future results, but really the return on the investment is totally up to you. So I'm going to repeat myself here a little bit because this is so important for you to grasp. This is a framework that promotes your authenticity. In other words, introvert or extrovert or DISC, no matter where you are in the personality paradigm, however you kind of express yourself, it's a way for you to take these things. I'm not a script person. You'll notice that I'm not on script right now. And so that's why it's hard for me to sometimes end on time. So I'm watching the clock. But it's outlines, it's frameworks for you to be authentic so you can come across in your own personality. So you're not coming across salesy or pushy or trying to be somebody that you're not. And it's adaptable because clients and customers also like to be communicated with in different ways. So it's also adaptable to their preference. And then we try to keep it simple, not easy, but simple. I wish it was easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Would all be making millions of dollars, but it's not. And so it's the people that are willing to get outside the comfort zone and take simple steps along the way, but sometimes uncomfortable steps in order to kind of hit the next level. Let me share my screen. I don't think I've done that yet. Here we go. All right. So that's okay. We didn't miss anything. So you're the difference maker to your success. Framework that promotes authenticity, adaptable to your clients, simple to put into practice. And when you have this, then it allows you to build a level of confidence that will help you succeed in any market, tough market, ridiculously tough market. I've been through those. I've built a real estate business into that. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then you can start, once you have that level of confidence, taking consistent action so you can get off the real estate roller coaster. How many of you that are watching this live or potentially the recording have been on an income roller coaster in real estate? I think it's an epidemic, really. And if we don't know the consistent actions to take and be able to work through that on a consistent basis, then it's prevalent for us to get on that roller coaster. So we want to try to avoid that as well. Now, the delivery of this is in webinar format, right? So when we get together, that's not going to be this. It's not going to be me just talking. It's going to be Zoom meeting format. So we'll see everybody on the screens. We'll have interactions back and forth. We'll work through things together, challenges and objections that you're hearing along the way, because that's going to be far more impactful and effective than me talking the whole time. This is a little bit different because we're doing reporting. I'm going to make sure that this gets to enough people so they can see a preview, and it's more of an introduction to the program as well. So that's a key point there. I want you to understand that this is going to be more of a back and forth through the 101 and 201 programs. Now, a little bit about me. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you ought to know that the person who's delivering the training session has walked the walk, who has been the mile in your shoes. My experience in direct real estate sales and then overseeing hundreds of billions even of transaction volume as a managing broker, a vice president of sales, vice president of all different core services, and then finally CEO of a very well-respected firm in Northeast Florida, has allowed me to witness, participate in and witness a real estate business from a lot of different angles. And so that really gives me insight into where the challenge. Hey, look, I've made all the excuses. I've overcome a lot of the challenges. I've heard many of the objections, and so that really allows me to kind of walk by your side and really empathize where you are and where you're trying to go. And having developed playbook over the years, it's been honed that can really help you get to that next level. I got into real estate. I was in financial services, had a good job. I was in Miami, moved to Stuart, Florida, to get into real estate. The timing wasn't great. It was 2005, kind of the tail end in Stuart of the amazing market. And so I got into real estate. My dad and I were going to start our own real estate company. So I went to work for another company for a couple of years in order to qualify our own company. And well, I think we all kind of know what happened. We got into one of the greatest recessions and worst real estate markets in history. And so I had moved from a good job, and now I was struggling to make ends meet. It was a brutal scenario. I got into real estate for, to make money. But there was also, it was kind of in my blood. It was, we moved around a lot when I was younger. Home became kind of a place of sanctuary for me, of security. I really started to develop a respect for and understanding after my parents got divorced, watched my mom work with realtors and moving companies, and how that was either a really good experience for her or whether it left her in tears. So a lot of reasons kind of underneath the surface as to why I got into real estate. But one of the things was I wanted to make money. And well, that didn't happen for a little while for me in real estate. I had a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles, all kinds of things that I'll share through the 101 and 201 program of of just mistakes made that you can learn from. And so I figured it out though. And so as the real estate market kept going like this in 2007, 2008, 2009, I kind of got in the game because in real estate, we can keep ourselves really busy, but not making a lot of money and not being effective at all. So I got off the periphery. I got into the game. I stopped doing what was comfortable, and I started succeeding with expireds and for sale by owners and doing amazing open houses, working better with my sphere of influence. And so the market went like this, and my income and my business went like this. And the reason I bring that up is because that's what this is all about. It's not just about, scripts and strategy. This is about how we can succeed in any market with a playbook that is not only developed and tried and true and tested, but that's evolved over time with new technologies and what's going to happen with buyer agency now, and how is AI going to influence the market. So it's the basics plus it's the new non-trendy, non-shiny object, but what's the stuff that's really going to play into the real estate business? So so as I grew in the business, I honed this and developed training programs over a period of time that we put into place and have really helped agents build better businesses. So my goal is simple, that for those of you, first of all, you're going to take away 3 or 4 business building ideas from this session alone. And then it's also for those that invest in and decide to go through the 101 or 201 program, that your initial investment will provide an ROI so incredible that you look back on it as such a no-brainer. 10x, 20x, 30x what the investment is my goal for you. And that you would multiply and grow your influence in the industry in a way consistent with really good values. Further information on the program, on me, on my background, you can visit momentorsllc.com. Like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time there. Let's get into the meat. So we talk about trust, the program, Momentors Trust Builder. Trust is such an important thing to understand. You're going to learn a lot of things here. You learn a lot of things from your broker. You learn a lot of things in your association and training programs. There's all kinds of stuff. There's so much noise out there. And I think it's all great, by the way. But if you strip everything away, what is the core goal? What are we trying to do? And that is, we are trying to develop trust with people. We're trying to build trust. With it, you have everything. Without it, you have nothing. Or at best, you have a business that is not repeat referral, that you're continually grinding, trying to come up with new clients and customers and lead gen and all that stuff, because you're not maintaining the relationships, because you're not conveying that trust. And when I've worked with a lot of realtors over the years, and in some training sessions, I ask the question, what's the most important word in real estate? And I get all kinds of fun answers. I get sold, I get location, I get having fun, I get listings, list to all kinds of answers. And every once in a while, someone raises their hand and says the right answer, and that is trust. Trust is the most important word in real estate, but we get it wrong sometimes. Trust, when someone says, okay, the word is trust, that's great. So tell me some words, give me some words to describe how you would define trust. And then you get this side of the ledger, which is all true and extremely important, right? You got to have these things. If you don't have these things, then get out of the real estate business. We don't want people out there that are malicious or, manipulation tactics. This is the side that's like the prerequisite for you to be able to build a good real estate business. Character, the character side of the equation. Are you an honest person? Do you have a high level of integrity, kindness, caring? Do you have a level of empathy for your real estate customers and clients? How strong are you? Are you resilient in the face of challenge or adversity? The character side. Now, one of the questions I get a lot when I start training somebody or coaching somebody is, and it's a devastating question and it breaks my heart, is my cousin just bought a house and they didn't use me. Or my sister, even, I've heard, listed their home and used a different realtor. And the reason that is not because you don't have this side of the equation. Well, hopefully it's not because of that. Hopefully you have this side of the equation. But what probably is the case is you haven't developed yet the other side of the trust ledger, which is credibility or competence. There's a great book on this written by Stephen M.R. Covey, Stephen Covey's son, called The Speed of Trust. Breaks this down further. Now we're going to go into detail. This is like the thread throughout the programs that we build, but I'm going to give you a couple things right now to enhance these things, because it's one thing to talk philosophy. Right now we're philosophy, but I'm going to give you action steps also. So credibility, knowledge, your skills, how organized you are. What is your aptitude for the business? Your abilities, your expertise, your communication. How good are you, or are you good, which is the character side, and then do you deliver the goods, which is the credibility or the competency side. Now, again, real quick here, because we do a deeper dive in the program on the character side. One takeaway is look at your marketing materials and look at how you're interacting with your customers and clients. Is it all about you, or is it all about them? Or at least at first about them? How well are you engaged? Or how are you communicating when you ask great questions? Are you listening? Are you caring about the responses? Are you taking notes? Are you writing things down? Are you asking follow-up questions predicated on the answers that they've given? Are you engaged? Are they driving the process? Are their objectives more important than your objectives? Being great at asking questions and listening, that is in and of itself a difference maker. And you can win business if you enhance your ability to do that. So that's one thing, is look at your marketing materials, look at your process. Is it client-centric first and foremost before you get into you, your company, and what you can do for them? That is a good reflection on your character. On the credibility side, I can't, this is my favorite thing, especially if you're newer in the business. Start getting really good at market evaluation and property evaluation. Okay. If you take nothing else away from this, but you have maybe a little bit of a confidence issue, or don't have the credibility side yet in real estate sales, start practicing what most call CMAs. I call market price analysis, MPAs. Start getting really good using RPR or whatever tools your broker provides to evaluate properties. When you start talking about absorption rates, month supply of inventory, average price per square foot, what are the differences in lot value per linear foot of a home on the water versus one that's across the street from the water? When you start having those conversations, the peripheral benefit is amazing. First of all, you start to tear down the credibility, or build up the credibility piece that you have in addition to the character. The other thing is you have more confidence when you're communicating with buyers and sellers. So anyway, I've told you you're going to take away 3 business building tips. Those are bonuses right there, right? 1, look at your marketing materials, look at your process, make sure you're focusing and listening well to build the character side. And then 2, get really good, start practicing. I would do 1 a week, practice your CMAs, or like I call them, market price analysis. And then these programs, I mean, we're talking integrity here. There's no BS manipulation. There's no tricks or shortcut hacks. This is the stuff that you want to focus on to build more trust. Hard work, done the right way, and done smartly, so you can have time for what matters most. Look, here's the deal. People need to know that you have their best interests at heart, number 1. Number 2, they need to know that you know what you're doing or are the expert. And number 3, that you're not going to pressure them. Because when you have number 1 and 2, you're going to be able to attract business without going through special closing techniques. The closing state will just kind of happen naturally. So that's kind of the overarching driver of the program. Now, as we move forward, let's get into a little bit more of the meat. So now this is the big picture, is trust. Okay, now we're doing that. So taking it to the next step, I talk a lot about goal setting and action planning. A lot of people start off the year with these goals and things they want to accomplish, and that's great. It's better than not having it. But if you don't distill that down to an action plan and then take the action, then it's absolutely worthless. What happens with a lot of business plans and goals is they get shelved. So one thing that we do through the program also is we take you through proper planning. I'm going to give you the framework for it here in a second. so that you can then distill it down to what are the things that I need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in order for that my big picture plan has a better chance of succeeding and is not something that I just look at again next year. So what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? And why are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we're going to do that because there's something called Parkinson's law of time management, which some of you have heard of. It simply says that work will expand to fill the time allotted for it. In other words, if you start working on a MLS entry at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing that you have on your calendar is a lunch at noon, well, it's very possible that that MLS entry is going to take you all the way until that next scheduled appointment. So the concept behind Parkinson's law of time management is time block everything. In other words, time block for the MLS listing, time block for your prospecting and sphere of influence connections, time block for your lunch, time block for your kid's softball game, time block it all so that the inverse can happen. Work can contract because a lot of times 2 hours of MLS input, you can turn away a better product than if you kind of allow yourself all that extra time and reflect on it too much and too much perfection personality coming into it. It can be a problem. So let's get better at taking the big picture, the 30,000-foot plan, bringing it down to actions, and let's work through how to do that. So this is an example of how the process works with Momentors Trust Builders. I give you a framework, you fill in the blanks. Now that QR code right there will take you to the blog that goes into more detail on how to make your plan work for real. This is a framework, you fill in the blanks, you make it work for you. All right. So the first thing is you get clarity on your MVP, your mission, your vision, and your principles. Now that is something that we go into a deeper dive in the 201 program. Getting clarity on your mission, on your vision, and your principles not only helps kind of create the 30,000-foot plan, but if you do it right, it also becomes something that you layer into your buyer and seller consultations. Now, I've worked with a lot of realtors, and I've asked a bunch of them, why are you in real estate sales? And I have heard some amazing answers, and I've heard answers that sound like, well, I like people and I like houses. And so if you really peel back the onion as to why you got into real estate sales, that becomes an emotional connection between you and buyers and sellers. So we get into that in 201, but that's part of a plan. Get clear on your mission, your vision, and your principles. Next is review your calendar, your task list for the past 12 months. How have you been spending your time? And you will identify areas where you can probably spend more time. Oh my gosh, I only spent 15 hours over the past 12 months proactively doing X. And you can probably find some areas where you need to spend less time. Oh my gosh, I did this for this often and it didn't really give me much of a return. So that will give you a little bit of a glimpse into where you want to spend more time and where you want to reduce some of your efforts. Then you want to develop your goals. And I would pick one, maybe two in each category. We call it Forbes: family, occupation, recreation, body and health, education and personal growth, and spirituality. What are some things that you want to accomplish there? Again, I'm moving quickly through here. We spend more time of it in the program. Why the change is important for each of the goal. This is another step that's often missed. Okay, well, I want to do X. I want to get myself into better shape. Well, why is that? Write that down because I want to be around and watch my kids get married and have grandkids because I want to quit smoking because for the same reason and my blood pressure is too high or I want to whatever it is. What is the why behind the goal? And then brainstorm. So before you start putting things on your calendar, just do a rough brainstorm on this is what I want to accomplish and here are some of the activities that I will engage in order to accomplish X. And now I'm going to break it down into the appropriate daily, weekly, monthly, and annual habits. So here you see how we're going. We're going from big picture. Now we're getting down to the granular, and pretty soon we're going to put them on our calendar. So if my goal was to double my income in real estate, it might look like this. I look back at my calendar. Oh my gosh, I didn't spend enough time being proactive and reaching out and building my business. So I know daily, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, depending on how often you work. Again, I'm not going to tell you, you figure that out. 1 hour of proactive connections with my sphere of influence, connecting with open house leads, for sale by owners, expireds, whatever your system is, social media, getting into weekly social media posts, 3 posts in LinkedIn, 5 Instagram posts, whatever it is for you. But now we're breaking it down into what I need to do daily, weekly, monthly, annually. It might be a coaching program, shameless plug, one convention. Again, you don't want to overdo it with conventions and coaching programs, but this is what I'm talking about. And then you get it down to the calendar. Now, I'm going to go out a month, maybe 3 months, depending on what the activities are. I'm going to go out a month and I'm going to start plugging this stuff on my calendar. And then every week, I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes. I do it at the end of the day on Sunday or first thing on Monday. I look at my week and I say, okay, these pieces need to move around and I need to make some changes here. But the core things, the dollar producing behaviors, the things that I need to do with my family, those things don't get moved around. It's the peripheral stuff that might get moved around. And then for 10 minutes at the end of each day, I look at my next day and do the same thing. Monday afternoon, before I shut it down, look at my Tuesday. Is my Tuesday going to be the best possible Tuesday it can be? Make some changes there. So you're going from 30,000 or 50,000 feet all the way down to now, here's what I'm going to do. And it goes on the calendar and then you take action. All right. So that's an insight into how we approach the different modules. Let's get into a little bit of an overview of the program. 101, going to answer questions like, where do I begin? What should I do with my time to be most effective? Should I join a team? 201 is going to talk about, should I start a team? 101 talks about, should I join a team? If I get a listing or buyer appointment, what do I do next? We help you get ready and confident for that. How will the national legal issues and new trends in real estate impact my ability to earn a living? What are the most common questions and objections in real estate? And how do I answer them? Hint, honestly. Do I need to buy leads? Why do my friends choose to work with me or not choose to work with me? What designations are most beneficial? How do I move past rejection and fear? And what are some traps and mistakes I can avoid? And it looks like this. Here's the curriculum. You're not going to find another program that looks like this, I promise. I've seen a lot of them. A lot of them are really, really good. This is unique. This is a different type of program. Orientation to real estate sales and the best framework to create a foundation of success. I'm not going to go through all these, but we'll hit some of them. We get to the most important word in real estate and how to make it work for you, deeper into the trust thing. Strategy to go from 0 to confident in the shortest amount of time and back it up. Confidence, lack of confidence is the #1 career and dream killer in real estate. It's the #1 thing that moves people out of the business, and it's the #1 thing that keeps people from getting to higher levels of real estate. #1, by far, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for a long time. Short-term versus long-term business building strategies. What are the things that are going to pay me now or really soon? And what are the things that are helping me build a long-term foundation? Listing consultation 101 to augment what training you've already had. Buyer consultation 101. Open houses the right way. I don't care who you are, how long you've been in the business. That module will teach you something about doing open houses the right way. Time management in your ideal week. Negotiations 101. It's actually a masterclass in negotiations. Don't let 101 fool you. The Grand Slam mirage and other avoidable mistakes. Again, using the tools your company provides. I'm not going to go through all these, but social media, expireds, FSBOs. And it's over 14 weeks. So there are sessions, 1-hour sessions every Thursday, beginning February 15th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. for 14 weeks. It ends on May 16th. These are Zoom sessions. So we're going to have, and they're designed like this. The same thing for the 201. It starts with a story, then it gets into the lesson, then it gets into practice, and then it gets into commitment for action. I'm going to give you tools between the sessions so that you'll take action on what you learned, again, in a way that's authentic to you. And for the 101 course, that QR code, by the way, takes you to the information page and how to sign up. The 101 course is $550 for that 14-week session and the action plans in between. All right. So next would be, obviously, 201. And we get into some different questions on the 201 side. So now we've come a little bit farther in our career. Should I start a team or hire an assistant or stay solo? How can I be more effective with my time and have a better life? I'm feeling kind of burnt out. I'm successful, but I'm all over the place, kind of in tandem with the other one. Where should I focus? Handling objections still makes me nervous. Is there a better strategy? How do I increase my average price per transaction? I feel like I've hit a ceiling. What are some next level decisions I can make? What are some next level moves? How can I improve my conversion rates? How can I get more intentional with my CRM and my sphere of influence? Can I improve my income without working more hours? How do I know when something should be embraced, like a new technology? Is it a new shiny object and a distraction, or is it something that I need to pay attention to and implement into my business and figure out how it fits, whether I need to become an expert on it or whether vendors and partnerships need to be created that will help me take advantage of, pick it, AI, blockchain, whatever some of the new implements are. What are some traps and mistakes that I can avoid based on trainers' experience and history? Now, you're never going to avoid all of them, nor should you. Growth happens outside of our comfort zone. Growth happens when you make mistakes, but I can certainly impart to you some wisdom that I've learned along the way and some mistakes I've made that will help you maybe make some better mistakes. So here's a curriculum again. Introduction to the program. We get into the business planning and the action planning in a different way than you've done in the past. We talk about the company you work for, your company values, your company culture, your competitive advantages. How are these important in addition to your own USPs or competitive advantages? How are they important, and how should you be including them in your buyer consultations and your seller consultations? And how can you communicate them in a way that is more client-centric than it seems like you're bragging on yourself or your company? How to properly answer how's the market? That's another big question that gets answered often poorly, frankly, in the industry. And so how do you answer that question, which will help you get rid of the fear of prospecting and take your confidence to a new level? Now we're going into the next level of listing consultation 201. Now we're getting more focused on the right listings at the right prices, at the right fees. Buyer consultations 201. How do we deliver +1 service so that our buyers become, our clients become major sources of repeat and referral business? Responding to leads 201. There's a really good way to respond to incoming web leads, marketing leads, incoming phone calls that still happen from sign calls. Yes, they still happen. There's really, really good ways to respond to those and some poor ways as well. Laying the foundation for long-term success, CRM. Negotiations 201. Now we're getting into emotions and negotiations, how to handle your own and how to recognize and help influence others that are maybe bringing too much drama to the scenario. Know your team, even if you're a solopreneur. What's my process to evaluate whether I should build a team, hire an assistant? Time and energy management. A lot of people manage their time. Not a lot of people manage your energy. So 201 expireds, 201 open houses, 201 FISBOs. It's kind of just the next level stuff and social media, et cetera. And then I'll give you a different set of tools to manage the activities between the sessions that will be really where you yield the greatest results. The 1 hour weekly sessions, and here you can see the times and the days, 14 weeks beginning February 15th, which is Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Those hours are super important, but it's what you do between those hours that's going to determine whether this becomes an exponential return on your investment or whether it's just okay and I recoup my money and maybe a few deals here and there. I mean, I'm looking here that you're gonna magnify your deal flow by somewhere between a lift of 5 to 10 if you kind of do what we talk about, or 10 plus if you really engage and do what we talk about. That's incremental deals compared to if you hadn't put some of these processes into place or augmented what you're saying to your buyers and sellers during your consultations, or handling negotiations in a different way to make sure your conversion rates go up and your fall through rates go down. That's the goal, is additional deal flow. And so, but that's up to you. Like I said, it's a matter of whether or not you take what we put forth in a simple but not easy format and you engage in those things, then your return on investment will be great. In the spirit of transparency, this is what I bring to the table. This is how I put together the lesson plans. All right. I mentioned story, lesson, practice, action, and that's what we do. And this is what I put together. So I have a lesson plan for all of these, and this is, like I said, this is 20 years in the making, but also forward looking, because I don't stop. This is not, I am not someone that is stuck in a plan that happened 15 years ago and let's keep doing that. No, no, no. I am a lifelong learner, which makes the program remains relevant. We don't turn our nose up at the new things that need to be embraced and thought through, and how do I implement it in the business. We work through those things and make sure that we're making good decisions on those along the way. So that's how I do the lesson plan. I wanted to share it with you. Again, I'm not a script guy. You can tell by this interaction right now. And I'm gonna give you simple frameworks for you to put into place so that you can get out there and you can excel in these different areas of business. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the takeaways. All right, I'm going to give you a brief look into the negotiations masterclass that we do in the 101 program. And I'm going to start off, I'm going to do it just like we get into in the program, the story. And so I was a co-listing agent. This is years ago. This is back when I was on the front lines of real estate, toes in the water and selling property. And I was a co-listing agent on a property in Sewell's Point, and I was it was in a very difficult market. We're going to say the year was 2008 for this, and we had through our expired prospecting efforts, we had acquired a new listing that was overpriced. It'd been on the market for about a year and a half. We took it. We gave them the straight scoop as to what the number ought to have been. They wanted to go higher. We accepted it because we knew it hadn't been marketed quite like we were going to market it, and the condition could use some help. So we thought we would put the number there and make some changes and see if we could get it done. Well, the market just kept getting worse and it was moving away from us. So we ended up getting an offer. The list price was around, let's just say 600,000. And we ended up getting an offer for 400,000. Now, the seller had, during our time of having the listing, had moved out. They had built a home on the water in downtown Stewart, and they moved out of the house. And so now we have empty house, and sometimes empty house leads to increased motivation. So the seller was considering taking this 400,000 offer. We were told that the buyer had no motion. We had no other prospects. And so the seller was considering it. We presented the offer because we had to, even though it was so low, and the seller was considering it. Now, I didn't think that was a good idea. I knew it was listed a little too high, but I knew it was worth more than 4. So what we decided to do, and this story, you had to consider agency. We were single agents for the seller. You got to consider whatever state you're in, how you'll operate. So we operated as fiduciary in a fiduciary capacity. And what we did was, with the seller's permission, because this was risky, decided to hold an open house and do a slight price reduction. And we marketed this open house like crazy. We called everyone we knew. We invited everybody. We put ads in the paper. We created this amazing buzz. And our goal was, what I was trying to do was get the buyer to show back up at the property, see all the commotion and movement around the property, and then maybe improve their offer. Well, that didn't happen. But what did happen is we manifested buyer number B and buyer B, and that offer came in at 540,000. Okay, so what we've done now is the seller, who had zero leverage with a $400,000 offer, now we've created an alternative to that deal, and prior there was none. And now we've created $140,000 of value. So what we did, looking at the first term, BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. The buyer was in a very strong position because the market was terrible. Listings were lasting for 2 years, 3 years in some cases. The buyer had all the leverage. We needed to increase our seller's leverage, or BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And we manufactured it out of thin air by doing a small price reduction and holding a major open house to get a lot of bodies through. And so that was substantial value that we created for the seller. Now, another thing that we need to be careful with is, now we have an offer at 540. The seller wanted to take that immediately because they were anchored, looking at another term, anchored, which is the reference point around which negotiations would take place. They were anchored to 400,000 right now. That was a number that was in their mind. So when we brought them 540, they wanted to jump all over it. Not so fast. What happens when a seller jumps all over an offer from a buyer? In a lot of cases, it could signal to the buyer that maybe they offered too much, or what's wrong with this picture. So we had the seller counter at $555,000. So we went from a price reduction from 600 to 575, and an offer from 400 up to 540. We ended up settling, deal done, at $555,000. So the first principle, and again, this is a short overview, we're going into more detail. This is the, like I said, masterclass in 101. First principle of negotiations is best alternative to negotiated agreement. Said in a different way, he or she who cares least wins, right? If I have other options as a buyer, I have a stronger position. If I have other options as a seller, I have a stronger position. Framing is another principle at work here. What was the frame that we created? The frame is the context around which the discussion will take place. So in this case, we framed the conversation to get the better offer by creating a lot of buzz and an amazing environment around the property. So the frame for buyer B was a lot more energy, a lot more engagement, and they came through in a totally different picture of the property than a property that had been sitting on the market for a long period of time. What is the context around which the negotiation will take place? Another very important key. Anchoring. Anchoring is another key in negotiations. What is an anchor? Anchor is the price or the fixed area around which a negotiation will take place. What is the anchor without anything else of a real estate transaction? A lot of times it's the list price. So we have to figure out how are we going to counter anchor a list price in some cases when we represent the buyer, or if we're the represent the seller, how are we going to solidify the anchor with when we enter into negotiations through supporting documentation. Assessing all sides of the transaction. We did a lot of digging in this one. We asked a lot of questions of the other agents about what is the buyer trying to accomplish here? What are some of the other properties that the buyers are looking at? Tell me a little bit more about what's important to the buyer in terms of the in terms of the terms of the deal. And we had a really good picture of the alternatives that the buyers were looking to. That's why we knew buyer A probably wasn't going to come up very much, because we understood where they were coming from. So assessing the other sides can be very beneficial. And then we get into reservation price and zone of potential agreement and how to manage all that. I'll actually give you, if you want to, you can send me an email, kevin@momentorsllc.com. This is something that I share in the 101 and 201 programs, but this is a document. I can't take credit for it. I modified it to real estate, but this is directly from the Harvard Negotiation Project. This is kind of a worksheet to go through and set yourself up for a negotiation to make sure you're asking the right questions, you're putting yourself in the right mindset, and you're doing your homework so that you're better prepared as you go into the negotiation. So that's just a little taste of what we go through into negotiations 101. And then 201 is a higher level. Now we get into working with different personality types of negotiations. What are some of the fears associated with the different personality types, and how do they show up maybe in some dramatic ways, into some higher emotions? Residential real estate, you get some emotional negotiations going on there. So how do we identify the core values or the core concerns that are either being supported or infringed upon, and how those translate into emotions and negotiations so that you can show up in a more calm fashion? We go through an acronym that I created called CALM, and some steps that you can go through to make sure you are a little bit more present and non-reactive and emotional and how you are handling the negotiations, and that you can also maybe disarm the other side. And in some instances, I'll tell you, emotions and negotiations aren't helpful. I mean, in a lot of cases, we will convey information or reveal something we ought not to have if we get really reactive and we're not a calm presence in the negotiation. All that aside, I'll give you another acronym that I came up with, and that is, if you take these steps, negotiations can be a picnic. And feel free to take a picture of this. I'm going to move past it pretty quickly. But preparations and negotiations, by far most important thing. If you're better prepared than the other side, then you're going to win for your clients. Again, remembering agency. Are you single agent, sub-agent, transaction broker? Depending on your state, you need to filter that through this. But preparation is key. Identifying common ground is a great thing, especially if there's a distance or a delta between certain terms, that you can identify common ground first and foremost. You want to maybe try to create wins or enhance the pie instead of looking to just divide the pie. Look for ways that you can and maximize value. Confront the challenges, not each other. This is a topic that came up recently with one of my clients, one of my one-on-one clients. They were having trouble because they were being attacked, And the idea is not to get in an altercation back and forth. That's not what clients hire us for. They hire us to solve problems for them. So separate the people from the problem and confront challenges, not each other. Negotiate from a position of strength. Know your best alternative to a negotiated agreement, and if appropriate, communicate it and do your best to figure out the other side's alternatives. Isolate remaining issues. Breaking down disagreements into smaller parts can make it less overwhelming. And finally, closing the matter and making sure everyone's on the same page when it comes to expectations and what's happened next. So a quick overview again for this hour. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to keep moving through here because I want to make sure that I get through everything. But that's the type of thing that we do through the program. Like the negotiations 101, I just moved through it in 5 minutes. We spend an hour there. And then we take it and we say, okay, what are the actions that you're going to take now to practice being a better negotiator? And then how are you going to incorporate your negotiation process into something that you can then communicate with clarity to your potential buyers and sellers along the way? Excuse me. And this is research-based too. We look at, as we go through the program, these numbers change over the years. We look at what's driving buyer behavior. We look at how buyers are reacting to the survey, the National Association of Realtors survey. And then if it's true that 26%, the primary reason for purchasing a home that buyers shared was the desire to own a home of their own. If that's true, how do we incorporate that information into our consultation with buyers? If 60% of the time they say the quality of the neighborhood is the most important factor in determining where they're going to end up, when we look at our buyer consultation, how are we taking that information and making sure that we're doing right by them and giving them the information that they're looking for? When 71% of them interview only one realtor during their home search, what does that mean and what does that tell us? These are the things that we kind of go through and break down as we work through 101 and 201 programs, okay? I talked about lifespan. I'm going to give you another tip here. Lifespan, again, simple, positive action now. I've given you some theory, but I've also given you a couple things that you can implement right away. I'm going to give you 3 more in a second, right? One is look at your marketing to make sure you're client focused. You're focused on their homes, not all on yourself. Some self-promotion is just inherent in real estate, but make sure there's a good mix there. Look at your process, your listing process, your listing consultation. Are you first and foremost, and your buyer's consultation, are you first and foremost asking really good questions, open-ended questions, not interrogating them? Making sure you care about the answers, asking questions, taking notes. That's part of it. Number 2, especially for the newer, get really good at doing CMAs and evaluating properties, because the more you do that just as practice, the next thing you know, you're going to build confidence, you're going to build the credibility, you're going to elevate your real estate practice in a way that you just can't do it without that level of market knowledge. I also gave you some negotiation tips. I gave you some ideas on how to prepare for a negotiation, and some of the key things. Like I said, if you email me, I'll send you the document that you can better prepare for negotiations and make sure you're not missing anything and that you're getting the best value, not only for your client, but you're creating value so that both sides can enter into a win-win. And I'm going to give you 3 more in a second, but but you can't do it all, right? You can't do it all. I'm going to give you 3 more tips here in a second, maybe 4. I think I added 1. You can't do it all, but you can take simple, positive action now, and you can take steps in the areas where you have a level of control. And so we call it be fierce. Focus intentional energy regarding controllable events and experiences. Years and years ago, Stephen Covey came up with a circle of influence and circle of concern. This is a piggyback on that. Although I've taken it 1 step further, I do believe there are things that you have more control over, not absolute control, and then a circle of influence. So what do you control? You control your attitude, your actions, your aptitude, your adjustments, and your answers. When I say your answers, I mean, how do you react to things? Attitude, let's focus on 3 of them. Attitude, actions, adjustments. If you started off every day and saying, that's where I'm going to spend my time. That's where I'm going to spend my mind power, my brain power, my action on the things I control and on the things I influence, which are, you can influence your outcomes, right? Your friendships, your family, you have influence in your community, your health, your appearance. Those are the things you influence. You want to spend time there too. And then no time in things where you can't control, like what other people think of you, like the weather, like what they say on the news, like what the, at certain levels, maybe you have political influence, but at some levels it's just nonsense. And you just, what are we doing? So when I say take simple positive action now, I'm really talking about the circle of control and the circle of influence. Be fierce. All right. So I told you I was going to give you a few more. I'm going to give you four more here. Business building ideas, and we're going to wrap it up. Business building ideas, and then we're going to wrap it up. So I want you to build your negotiation strategy into your listing and buyer consultations. I want you to, whether it's the one I'm using or the one that you use already, if you're not discussing it with your buyers and sellers, I want you to start articulating it into your listing and buyer consultations. Another business building tip here is connecting with real estate freebirds. Some people call it real estate orphans. I call it freebirds. I'm in Jacksonville, Leonard Skinner, freebird. And that means there are a lot of people that have left the business. Last year, a lot of people that are leaving the business. This year, you're not one of those people. You're intentional. You're going to grow your business, but there are a lot of people that now need to be adopted. And these are free birds. And so there are a few different ways you can do that. One is continue to get out there, be present in the community, hold the open houses, meet more people. You can do the lead gen thing. There's a really good way to do lead gen and buying leads. You can do that. That's not the focus of this program. The focus of this program is identifying people in your sphere of influence and referrals and doing great open houses and doing great expired prospecting and for sale by owner prospecting to capture some of these free birds into your own area. And one way to do that, one really good way to do that, is to connect with people that you know that have left the business, that you can then put together a strategy with them. And if they're still licensed, by the way, they can earn a referral fee. Again, check with your broker, check with your state laws, but you can work out a referral fee to become part of their team. They're transitioning out of the business, and you have introductions to some of the people that they've worked with over time and some of the people that they potentially could be working with, their spheres of influence, and work out a deal where you'll pay them X percentage over a period of time to make those connections, and then you can start to develop that book of business. You know people that are going to be getting out of the business. So if it's not someone that's already gotten out of the business, keep that top of mind as people get out of the business. And again, if they're going to keep their license active, convince them that it might be a good idea to keep their license active. And then you can pay a referral fee and have a nice warm handoff. And you kind of take on those client bases, put them in your sphere of influence, start to nurture those relationships as trusted relationships of your own. Adopt +1 thinking. Boy, I love +1 thinking. I go into a lot of detail on this. And I'm not talking about one more. I'm talking about there's a great book that I've heard about. I haven't read it yet, but by I think it's Ed Milet, Power of One More. This is a little bit different. Power of One More. The concept of +1 is any action that you do that requires any amount of effort. Think if there's something that's simple that you can do that would magnify the investment of time in that activity. I'll take sales meetings. For those of you that still go to sales meetings, I love sales meetings. For those of you that still go to sales meetings, whether they're Zoom or in person, sales meetings, a lot of them are great. Some of them not so great. Some of them are great. Anytime you learn something in a sales meeting, make it a commitment that you are going to share that information with at least one person in your sphere of influence. It might be something on the market. It might be some new thing about flood insurance, whatever it is. Instead, you can send mass text, whatever, text messages, emails, you can do all that is fine, but make it a point to pick up the phone or get face-to-face and share something that you learned from a sales meeting. I would say 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but start small. Just share it with one person. That's +1 thinking. That is taking an activity that I've done and I've magnified it a little bit. If I'm going to go through the process of working with buyers and they purchase a new construction home, well, maybe I'll photograph the experience along the way and create a what do you call it? A flip book. What's the company that does it? I can't think of it right now. Jessica does most of it, but create a series of time of them standing in front of, a vacant lot, and then over a period of time, they're in, the development of the house, and then they have their full house. Create a little bit of a, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Shutterfly book of what that looks like. That's plus one thinking. Anytime you engage in an activity, this webinar right now that you're on, you invested an hour here. What is one thing that I can take away from this that I will now make it productive? And I'm giving you a handful of them, right? And then finally, another business building idea that's talked about so frequently that so few people do. I've given you the format for it now. I hope you snap the QR code and we'll take a look at the blog, because if you want to take action on things, then you need to understand the why behind you're doing it, and you need to calendar it out. So put time block X hours per day to connect in person or via voice with people that you can serve. Time block it and get it done. And those are business building tips that I promise you, if you just take one of them, one of the things that we've talked about here today, and take action on it, it can have a great impact on your 2024 and then beyond. If you stick with it and take consistent action. And the 101 and 201 course, by the way, it will help you do that. It's one thing to go to one seminar or one, training program, or one to have it spread out over 14 weeks, though. It builds upon itself and it helps you create momentum. This QR code will take you to the sign up page. It's easy to join, couple clicks, and you're there. 101 or 201, based on my experience in developing real estate training programs over the years, you should expect a lift. Again, if you kind of engage between 5 and 10 transactions, meaning you do a few things, but if you really get after it and go all in, 10 plus transactions of lift, of incremental deals, versus if you haven't done the program. And then as your actions compound over the years, then I promise you the return on the investment is a no-brainer. It's very well worth it. So I hope this hour was helpful. I hope to see you as part of the 101 and 201 program. I am very, very grateful that you took the time to do this. I'm very, very grateful for your support. For those of you that are one-on-one clients already or considering joining the program, support of Momentors as we grow this thing and we make a bigger and bigger impact in lives in our communities, and eventually grow our influence in a positive way with great influence, great character too. So thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you soon.